Son, Son of Bride, let us hear the Holy Gospel. Peace be unto all.
And to thy spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to thee, O Lord. Glory to thee.
The Lord said this parable. The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully, and he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, This will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, Thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself, and is not rich toward God. And the Lord said to his disciples, Beware of men, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, and delivering you up to the synagogues and to prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolk and friends. And some of you shall they cause to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not a hair of your head perish. In your patience possess ye your soul.
Glory to thee, O Lord. Glory to thee.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory forever.
Thou fool! This night thy life is demanded of thee. What harsh words these are from God. What fierce words. Why is the Lord so angry with this man, this rich man? Because he is prosperous? Because he has a lot of crops? Because his barns are too small for what he has been given? Who gave him all this grain? God did. The same one who gave Abraham riches, and who gave Isaac blessings, and who multiplied the sheep of Jacob so that he would be a wealthy man and would leave Laban with nothing. The same one who, when Joseph was in Egypt, made Egypt prosperous and then subjected it to 7 years of famine. The same God has blessed the rich man today and has given him much produce. So why then is God angry with him? The rich man has received of God, and he has much. It wasn't terrible when Abraham had it. It wasn't terrible when David was crowned king and given all the riches of Israel. Why is God upset with the rich man? He's upset with the rich man because the rich man worships Mammon. He's angry with the rich man because he loves him. But the rich man has forgotten about heaven. He's forgotten about the final judgment. He's forgotten everything. And so when he worships Mammon, and this is what it means to worship Mammon, man worships the present moment. When a man is wealthy in goods or in property or in money, what happens then is he is secure in the present. He feels secure in his present moment because his wealth gives him this security. And he says this security is ever after. Forever will be this way. This security in the present moment gives him permission to forget heaven and to forget the judgment that's coming. So the rich man is blessed by God, but in this blessing he has forgotten God entirely. He says, Oh my soul, many years do you have to sit, to eat, to drink, to be merry, to do penance? No, to be merry, because I'm secure. From God? No, from myself. I'm secure. And God is grieved with him because he loves him. And God now has to call him to this judgment that he is now bound to, that he was ordained for. He is called to it. And the rich man is not prepared because he is forgotten. He is asleep because he worships Mammon. I was reading the lives of the saints recently. I was reading about St. Iakovos of Evia, this modern Greek saint. This amazing man. I can't begin to describe all his miracles. But there was a horrible story that he recounted. And it's actually not a horrible story, but it feels horrible to me. And that St. Iakovos' elder, this hieromonk named Nicodemus, he was his elder, his spiritual father, he had died. And Iakovos was a man of such holiness that he prayed about his spiritual father. He said, Lord, where is my spiritual father? And he had a dream. And in the dream, he walked into a room. And again, as a priest, it's a horrible vision for me, I think. He came into this room and he saw his elder kneeling on the ground, looking up with absolute reverence, but on his knees. And in front of him was a throne 3 feet above the ground, like levitating. And on the throne was the high priest. And his elder was prostrate before him. And Christ was interrogating him about every thought he had had, every word he had spoken, every deed that he had done. And he was basically interrogating this man very intensely. Not with rage, not with hatred, not with anger, for God is dispassionate. But he was interrogating this man over every single part of his life. And as a priest, I'm thinking, man, am I ready for that? That's why it was a horrifying vision for me. I said, am I ready to kneel in front of the high priest and give account as a wretched, lowly priest for what has happened? No. But this is what the rich man is undergoing now in this parable. The rich man wasn't ready. He was asleep. And suddenly he was called to the judgment. And he was not ready for it. When the judgment comes, beloved, it doesn't matter what a man looks like on the outside. The kings, like what happens? When the kings die, they put them in the grave. And how do they bury kings? They bury them with crowns, with royalty, with their scepters in their right hand across their chest. They have rings on their fingers, all these things. So when a man dies, what happens? The angels will take his crown off his head. They will take the scepter out of his right hand. They will take off his robes. They will pry the rings off each one of his fingers. And they will force him to his knees in front of the great king. And he'll begin to answer hard questions. So it does not matter what comfort he had, what security he thought he had in his power and his wealth. When he stands before Christ, he's a naked man, naked of everything he thought he had in that instant. But what happens when the Christian kings are judged? The Christian kings are different. They come before the Lord already stripped, because they've been stripping themselves their whole life. They say, Lord, I wasn't worthy to wear this crown. Here it is, O Lord. Here's the crown back to you that you bestowed upon me. I wasn't worthy to wear it. I've been preparing my entire life for this moment. My entire reign, I prepared for this moment. I would meet you and be judged by you. This is the account of my stewardship of the kingdom. And the Lord will say, well done. You came prepared. You were ready. You were not blinded and asleep in nonsense, but you were awake and ready. And you gave answers. And the truth is, beloved, is that we are caught up in this life of youth, this life of beauty, seeming beauty, I would say, this life of all kinds of carnal attachments, but we don't know when it will end. I had this friend that I had known, I don't even know if I would say she was a friend. She was an acquaintance that I had known from the time I was in grade school. This wonderfully intelligent young woman, very intelligent, very beautiful. And I'd known her from grade school all the way through high school. And then at the time for college, we went to different places. Except she went to school and then decided she didn't like it. And she went back to our hometown. She was beautiful. She met this man after high school, and eventually she married him. She was about a year behind me. And it was about a year into my priesthood here that I was called by my mother, who said, this young woman, she is no more. I said, what do you mean she's no more? She's only a year younger than me. What has happened? Well, with her husband, she had gone to Mexico on a trip, and she became very sick. And she was, as things can happen in Mexico, you can drink the wrong water and get sick. And so she was ill. And when she came home, the illness never left her. She said, this is wrong. Something's wrong. It isn't just bacteria. This is something wrong. And so she went to the gastroenterologist, and she said, I'm ill all the time. What's wrong with me? And they stuck a scope down her throat into her stomach, and they said, your entire stomach is cancer. You'll be dead in a couple days. That's what they said to her. And a couple days later, she was dead. And everything she had was gone in that moment. Say goodbye to your family now, because you'll be dead in a few days. And so her entire life was taken from her in a moment. And so that's how it is. The rich man's life is taken. This young woman I had known that I thought would be a doctor, that's what I thought of her. Man, she's so intelligent, she'll be a doctor, she'll be an MD. She'll rise to some great height. She was dead at 29. Her life was taken. And so, beloved, and the thing about it is, beloved, is that she wasn't really a Christian. She didn't really live a Christian life. So how she did at her judgment, I don't know. I don't know what answer she gave. I don't know what question she was asked. I don't know if she was ready. But St. Iakovos said of his elder, he said, of my elder, he said, he did just fine. he was saved. The Lord forgave him everything and blessed him greatly because he had done well. Because he was awake his whole life. He wasn't a man of possessions. He was a man who wasn't enamored of the things of this earth, but he was a spiritual man. And so when Christ met him, Christ interrogated him thoroughly and then said, "You can come in. You can enter, my son. Enter. Enter, Father. Enter." Beloved, we have it really hard. Our society lies to us a lot. In the old times, in the Middle Ages, actually I'll even go back to the pagan times. The pagans think about the afterlife. Yes, they did a lot. They thought about the afterlife a lot. If you were in Egypt, the greatest buildings are what? The pyramids, where they buried the pharaohs. The pharaohs were deeply concerned about the afterlife. You know, the Emperor of China, the first Emperor of China, he built this massive tomb, and he has all these terracotta warriors to guard it. He was very interested in the afterlife, very interested in eternity. And so if you went to the Christian lands of the old times, what was the greatest building in the town? It was the church. What's the tallest building in the town? The church. Nothing rises higher. So man is reaching up towards God. Is he reaching towards mammon? No, he's reaching towards God. There is plenty of mammon in the world, but he's reaching towards God because he knows this is what matters. And so the church is the highest building. And everyone sees it. They know it. They're reminded of it continuously. But in our land, beloved, what is the highest building? It's not the church anymore. There's all kinds of buildings reaching towards the sky, proclaiming America's wealth and its desire for continuous wealth and continuous power. But none of that is forever, beloved. It's not eternal. It's the worship of this present moment. That's what it means to worship mammon, to be in the present moment, and to think this moment will be forever. If you go to Los Angeles, what is Los Angeles? Eternal erotic youth. That's what it is. The worship of erotic youth forever. You go to New York, what is this worship? It is the worship of money and the power that money can buy, but forever. Not just for this moment, but forever. And the hope it will go on forever. But it won't. It cannot. Beloved, the sirens call the present moment dulls out the distant trumpets of God's judgment. We don't hear it. We're not ready. We're not listening to the future. But again, is the Christian life only about the future? No, the Christian life is about bringing the future into this moment. I take the judgment of God and bring it into this moment. And what happens? Then this moment has meaning. Suddenly all the world becomes beautiful. Why? All the greatest beauties of this world, the greatest beautiful works were made by eternal men who were thinking about eternity and put eternity into the present moment. They were thinking about the end, and so they wrote the beginning in this life. That's what was most beautiful. The most beautiful art, the most beautiful buildings. They were crafted by men who thought of eternity and wanted to bring down eternity into this present time. But we, much of the time, do the opposite. There was this great saint, St. Pelagia, who was a harlot in Antioch, a great harlot courtesan. One time she was passing a group of bishops, and Pelagia was worshipping the present moment in this really intense way. You know, she was completely decked out in gold and in jewelry and in perfume and all these things. And she was the most wanted woman of the city. And she's passing by these bishops. And all the bishops kind of look down because they don't want to sin, or they don't want to look at this woman and fall into lust. So they look down. But there's one bishop who does not look down at all. His name is Nanos. And he is a saint. He's holy. And he's actually so holy he's dispassionate. So he gazes directly at the woman's face. He gazes at her and he chides the bishops. He says, "Woe unto us, brothers. Woe unto me. Because look at how much this woman labors to beautify her body for this life, to incite lust in men. But do I beautify my soul in order to please the heavenly bridegroom? No, not as much as this woman does. This woman has surpassed me, and has surpassed you, beloved, in work and in virtues. She's greater than us, because she works harder than we do. We should work harder to prepare for the next life, beloved. We should secure our inheritance." See, beloved, people look at the church and say, "My goodness, the church takes so much from me. The church makes me fast. The church asks tithes of me. The church makes me prostrate. The church makes me do all kinds of things that are difficult and intense. All the time it does this." But why? Because the church cares for your inheritance. The church says to you, "My children, you're going to lose everything you have now. What you have gathered for yourself, you will lose." And so the church is like that stern mother who raises her son, so he knows how to invest his life. So when he comes into manhood, he's full and it's powerful. So the church is telling you, beloved, invest in the next life. Invest what God will give to you. Invest what the Lord is storing up for you. I'll end with this last story. There is, in the West, there's a really famous book called Imitation of Christ. It's a very famous book. It's one of the most read books probably in world history, this book, Imitation of Christ. It was written by this Latin monk, Thomas à Kempis. And à Kempis had this brother. And à Kempis is a very serious man. He's very serious, intense, kind of austere, kind of monastic priest in the Netherlands, I think, or a part of Germany that's near the Netherlands. And à Kempis has a brother who's become prosperous. And his brother's a layman. And his brother has bought a beautiful house, or built one for himself, which is gorgeous and wonderful. And he calls à Kempis out of the monastery to come to his house. And so Kempis goes to his house. And Kempis isn't angry that his brother has a beautiful house. But he worries for his brother a little bit. And so he says to his brother, "Brother, your house is beautiful, but there's one great flaw in it." And his brother's face screws up. He says, "What do you mean there's a flaw in my house? What do you mean?" He says, "Brother, you put a door in your house." His brother says, "What do you mean I have a door in my house? Everyone has a door in their house. What does that mean?" And the Kempe says, "Brother, through this door they'll carry out your corpse when you have died. And then who will have your house after?" And his brother becomes sober. And is the Kempe's angry that his brother has been blessed? No. But he worries for his brother because he says, maybe my brother will forget Christ. Maybe my brother, in his prosperity, will forget Christ. He'll forget him. And he'll be like this rich man from the gospel that doesn't remember eternity and doesn't prepare for it. And so, beloved, the blessings of God are good. All of it is good. The rich man received good at the hands of God, but he fell asleep in it. If you have received good of God, give thanks to him, and you'll always remember paradise. If God gives you a blessing to dwell in a beautiful home, then you should make that home a church, and then you will have a home in paradise, and not just a home on the earth. If God grants to you great blessings, then give thanks and share them, and then you'll have riches in paradise. But remember this, beloved, this life will be taken from you quickly. And just like those kings who went vainly into death, everything you have will be pried off of you, stripped off of you, taken from you. And you'll stand naked before Christ, on your knees like St. Jacobus' elder, and you'll have to answer questions. And if you're not ready to answer those questions, then this life is in vain for you. But if you can give answers to those questions, then this life is precious to you, and it was well spent and well invested. May God bless all of you, beloved, and give you many rich blessings in your houses, in your homes, but may he give you eternal life, always now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen.